All right. Hey, everyone. Come on. Okay, we're going. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Music and Moonsaults. I'm your host, Chris Bourdine. And joining me today from Love Wrestling, he's got the cure you're thinking of. It's Spencer Love. See? Still funny the second
Man.
time.
Well, and it's like I've said before, and I'll say again, is like the amount of times in my life I've heard something referenced or some sort of pun made as far as like calling Dr. Love goes. Like, do you know how many times in high school I heard from a guidance counselor or something like that, like, you should be a physician? Ha
Yeah.
ha ha
Yeah.
ha. But at the very least, it's much better to hear like calling Dr. Love and get a reference to something that I truly love in
Right.
that song and a reference to an album I truly love in Rock and
Yes.
Roll Over than like,
Yes.
hey, Spence Diamonds, which every single time makes me want to hit somebody, for lack of a better way to put it. But either way, we're not here to talk about my frustrations. We're here to talk about cool things. I'm here to hang out with a friend and talk about a hell of an album, man. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Last time you were on, we talked about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And we've since we've exchanged multiple DMs about all things Kiss. We are I'll go ahead and say it. We are, the two of us are on the front lines holding the flag for Super Kiss. Defending all things put. Super Kiss.
Kiss Army 2001.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into that because I'm it's. You know, we're both younger gents. I think you're even younger than I am, but you know, it's always cool talking to Kiss fans who are you know, around the same age as me. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did you get into Kiss?
I can't remember like the first experience, for lack of a better way to put it. The first like real memory I have of Kiss, and it's going to sound super obscure, but like, how else do you get into things you love, right? It's very rarely a typical path. The first time I really remember having like a vivid Kiss memory, I was literally, dude, in like a Spencer's Gifts or something like that.
Yes.
And they had like Kiss pop-up jukeboxes or Jack in the Boxes, excuse me, not jukeboxes. That you would play and like you hit the button and Gene Simmons pops up and plays God of Thunder.
Okay,
or Paul Stanley pops up and plays Love Gun or whatever. So obviously I knew who they were before that. I'd heard of the band. I obviously knew what they were enough to like go over and check these out. But that's the first real memory I have, is like hitting this dumb Jack in the Box tucked away in a corner. And hearing just some badass music. Now, fast forward a couple of years, for my dad's 40th birthday, my mom, who is like the ultimate party planner, she hired a Kiss tribute band to come out to my dad's birthday.
Awesome.
And not only that, but she decided to surprise my dad with not only like the Kiss tribute band, but she brought in a friend and all that sort of stuff to do on like full Kiss makeup for my brothers and I.
Awesome.
So like, you know, we're kids, don't kill the magic, but she never told us they were a tribute band. So I grew up until I was like 18 and like, you know,
dude, Kiss played my dad's birthday party.
I met Kiss and I got a guitar pick from Gene Simmons and all this sort of stuff. And like, you know, again, as silly as it sounds, but you know what kind of an experience something like that is for a kid when you meet a hero or someone larger than life, whether it turns out to be that person or not.
Right.
Those were sort of really my first steps. So literally like my dad's 40th birthday would have been 2001.
Okay.
He's 30 years older than me. So that would have been, you know, join the Kiss Army, as I'm sure you did too. Like you just go through, fill out the online site, all of that. You get an email every so often.
So your dad was a fan then too?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Full on fan. Again, one of my like earlier memories, not the first, but one of my earlier memories is he had about 25, 30 people over at our house in 98 when Kiss was on the Psycho Circus tour. Nice. And they all did their face paint and that sort of stuff too. So
yeah, same.
So yeah, they've always been like in you know, it's kind of funny because like one of the first biographies I read was one of Gene Simmons' first books. And like you read about this demonic, satanic, how everybody hated Kiss. And like for me growing up in the 90s and 2000s, it was a family bonding moment, right? Yeah. You watched Detroit Rock City. You saw how much that was the antithesis of a parental relationship. it was like one of the foundations of my parental relationship.
Same. My dad, I was indoctrinated at a very young age.
That's the way to put it, right? Indoctrinated
yes.
into KISS. You don't grow to be a KISS fan.
So my first memory is, because like I said, I'm a little bit older than you. My first memory is, they released a VHS tape. Remember those? Of the 3 music videos off of the Crazy Nights album. And cool. Obviously my dad had it, and I remember playing it, and I specifically remember the first time I saw the Crazy Nights video. At the end of the video, when Paul Stanley is on the stage, and then he's walking on the fans' hands out into the crowd, like he was like some sort of Jesus or something walking on the water. I was like, wow, that's cool. And that was non-makeup KISS. And then my other thing around that same time, because I was so into it, and it directly ties into the album we're going to talk about today. My dad then had a blank cassette, and he recorded on one side Destroyer, and on the opposite side Rock and Roll Over. Well, most of Rock and Roll Over.
Cool.
It cut off in the middle of the solo for See You in Your Dreams Tonight. So for years I never knew, like, I didn't know how that song ended, and I never, like, obviously I heard.
Just gonna say, Mr. Speed. What's Mr. Speed?
Oh no, Mr. Speed was on there. That was like, Mr. Speed was on there, but it cut off right in the middle of the solo. It was kind of funny. But anyways, so we're talking about Rock and Roll Over. It came out. The anniversary was actually a week ago as we're recording this. It came out on the 11th. I must have messed up my notes because I thought it was later in the month. So, oh well. But anyways,
if it wasn't for bad note taking, I would have passed statistics on my first attempt to do so.
Yeah. And I find this era of the band fascinating because this is when they're on their ascent into world domination. There's a couple years in the mid 70s where they just ruled the world, and this was right in that time frame. And they're coming off of the aforementioned Destroyer album, and and it was quite a departure for them because they finally hit big relatively with the KISS Alive in 75. And then they go and they're like, how can we, where do we go from here? And they bring in Bob Ezrin, who, worked with Alice Cooper, and do this really cinematic sounding album, right from the beginning of Detroit Rock City through, and, put a lot of work into it. And so, listening to Ezrin, I've listened to a couple Bob Ezrin interviews. He was expecting to come back for the follow-up too. But like they started, even before the album came out, they started getting cold feet about whether it was too different sounding, none of the songs except for like Great Expectations is about the usual, sex and partying, like the rest of the,
which is weird when you talk about Great Expectations being the one that does fall into that category.
Yes. But Ezrin really challenged him to go beyond the quote unquote cock rock that they were kind of writing up into that point. And all the added production with the pianos and all that kind of stuff. And so they get cold feet before the album even comes out. And then the album comes out and it doesn't perform right away, and it's not until Beth is a single that things really start taking off. So they end up going behind his back and reach out to I believe it was Jack Douglas, who ended up working with like Cheap Trick and Aerosmith and that, I believe, who was like a protege.
Him and Eddie Kramer, both co-produced.
Right. Well, they wanted Douglas to do it, but Douglas, because he was like a protege of Ezrin's. And he was like the next hot thing, and he called Ezrin and was like, "Hey, they want me to do this." They called and asked me if I wanted to do this, like, And so that kind of caught Ezra off guard, and and then they didn't get back together until doing The Elder, which that was a whole nother podcast we could have done. But
I was just gonna say that might be an album review we don't do.
Yeah, no,
and
no.
Not for me not wanting to talk to you.
Yeah, but then so in November 11th, 1976, they released Rock and Roll Over, which, I mean, bands were releasing 2 or 3 albums a year at that time. It's crazy when you think about it now.
Yeah, I remember, it was in like Frick Coffee News or some random like piece of literature, to be honest with you. And when Van Morrison was putting out his albums in the 70s, there was a point in this article that I was reading where Rolling Stone advertised his albums. This is Van Morrison's first album in nearly a year. As like, holy cow, can you believe how long it's been between albums here? Mm-hmm. And like, even Taylor Swift, who I think, is a pretty easy example of someone who's releasing stuff pretty consistently. Like, it's a 2 or 3 or 4 year process.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nuts how, not just how great of musicians these guys were, but like how prolific they were.
They really were. So instead they don't get Jack Douglas. They bring in Eddie Kramer, who has really been tied to the band from the beginning. He produced the first demos. He then produced Kiss Alive. So they bring him in to finally produce a full-length album, and I think it's definitely in my top 5. And depending on the day you ask me, it's number 1. I think it helps that what this album has, maybe as a diehard fan over like something like Destroyer, isn't necessarily that it's a better album, but it just has, you look at this, out of 10 songs, only one of them really is a concert staple right now, and that's Calling Dr. Love. Everything else is, they don't play often, if at all. Whereas Destroyer, they pretty much play the whole album, save for a few tracks here and there. But, they've pretty much played 3/4 of Destroyer for the last, 25 years. So,
yeah.
There's a little bit.
Yeah, and you won't find any like live Mr. Speed again to go. I keep referencing it. It's my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
You can't tell. But
it's a good one.
But you couldn't find it live until quite literally, I think it was one of the first Kiss cruises that they played it. Like you say, I think that the coolest part of this for me is, even as a guy who's a big fan of it, who really enjoys the album front to back, it still sometimes slides through the cracks, right?
Yeah.
Because like you look at Destroyer, you look at Love Gun, you look at even, Psycho Circus for maybe an album that's not better than this one, but maybe has a little bit more notoriety and history. Like, this album, every single time I listen to it, you find something new to love about it. Where when you've listened to a Destroyer and Alive or albums like that a million times at this point, maybe you just don't get that to the same degree. You know what I mean? Oh, this guitar lick stands out. Oh, this vocal stands out. You've heard it all before in a million different ways. Mm-hmm. This is still unique to me, despite having listened to it that million different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, this one this album is actually generally considered among the fan base one of the better albums. If it's not most people's number 1, it's up there. But I get the same feeling from an album like, again, going back to Super Kiss, Dynasty. Like, I love Dynasty. That's probably my other, if on the if half the week it's Rock and Roll Over, the other half of the week it's probably Dynasty. As if when you ask me what my favorite Kiss album is, even though it's got that it's much maligned by some people because it's the quote unquote disco record, which whatever. But there's some really great stuff on that one too. But Rock and Roll Over, it let's see here. I'm not even prepared. How about that?
Welcome to 99% of my life.
I went to go pull up the, to get the information from the Wikipedia, and it wasn't there. So, so they recorded it at the Star Theater in Nanuet, New York. They recorded Peter Criss's drums in a bathroom.
Yeah. which is cool.
Yeah.
Ironically, talking about like the whole Zoom culture we've had for the last 2 years of things, like these guys are doing it in '76.
Yeah. And it peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200. So
something I thought was really fascinating. This was the first Kiss album that Ace Frehley didn't have a writing credit,
right.
And at least again from what I read of everything, like, you know, and pretty easy to tell given, you know, Ace's sort of reputation with Kiss, but like he was the first guy or one of the first guys that was really pushing for the return to rock and roll and really getting back to that sound of Kiss. So for him to be one of the guys pushing for that and then to not have a writing credit was a bit of a weird juxtaposition.
Right. And that's part of why this era is so fascinating to me, is because it's not, you know, they're on the ascent as far as popularity, but I mean, the cracks start forming during Destroyer. Like Ace, there are a couple songs where Ace doesn't show up and it's not him playing lead guitar on a couple songs on that album.
Yeah.
And again, it seemed like it was very, Gene and Paul were happy with Ezrin, or at least, you know, what he was pushing him to do. And Ace, and particularly Peter, really had a hard time with the type of regimented recording that Ezrin, you know, the stories about him and the camp whistle are legendary. So it was kind of, you know, that fracture there. So yeah, it is weird that he doesn't have a writing credit on this album. And then, but on the next album, he gets to sing finally. So he was saving it.
You win some, you lose some.
Exactly. So there's 2 singles that they released off this album. Hard Luck Woman was the first single. It was written by Paul Stanley, and he originally wrote it because he heard like a Rod Stewart song on the radio and was like, I'm going to write a song for Rod Stewart. And they're like, well, no, you should have Peter sing it.
Yeah.
And that's how that came to be. So
yeah, and I've got it in my notes a couple of times through this, so maybe I'm gonna combine a couple of things here, but like this for me is the Peter Criss album, you know, and it ain't like he's the leading guy on the whole thing, but Hard Luck Woman and Baby Driver by My Money are quite easily 2 of the best 3 songs that he's ever put out. And in my personal opinion, I like Hard Luck Woman a lot more than Beth, just because I like just the more laid back vibe rather than the ballad vibe, you know. And I love me some Beth, but it's an entirely just different vibe to the 2 songs. Mm-hmm. So Peter Criss, it's funny because like one of my favorite jokes from Family Guy, is like the whole nobody wants to be Peter Criss, not even Peter Criss.
Yes.
Yeah, but like the older I've gotten, the more I've come to appreciate not only how good of a musician he is, but just how good of a vocalist he is. He's got like a real, you know, for the style of music he says it's like he's just got a real like sad vocal to him. He's got a real twinge to him.
He's got a lot of Seeger in him.
Yeah.
There are certain moments where if it was playing in the distance and you didn't know any better, you could easily confuse him, you know, vocal wise, for Seeger.
Yeah, I agree.
But he's definitely out of the 4 original members. He's definitely number 4 for me. And you know, there's a lot of his stuff, like, you know, stuff he sings, I can take, and there's a lot that I can leave, but there's no denying how important he was. And right up until, you know, things got real bad, 78, 79, that he was how important his drumming was to the band. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then the second single, the aforementioned Calling Dr. Love. Interesting that they didn't release a Paul single off this album.
Interesting they didn't release a Paul single. Interesting that Calling Dr. Love wasn't the first single. Like, you would think, again, with this being the almost return to rock and roll or the return to the roots album, that well, you know, again,
I think they were trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Because like Hard Luck Woman was not a typical Kiss song, but
they were definitely trying to capitalize on
recapitalize on Beth.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
exactly.
So that's exactly it. So you get the logic. It's just you still, and it's playing Monday morning quarterback, or not even Monday morning quarterback, but like Monday morning 45 years later quarterback. Just a little odd that they didn't go that route with it.
But Calling Dr. Love, definitely my favorite Gene song.
Really?
Yes, absolutely, hands down. Especially, it's definitely the best Gene song that he wrote. The only other one that's close for me is Cold Gin, which Ace wrote.
See, and I was gonna say it's ironic. Like everybody almost has someone else having written their favorite song for me. Because I was gonna Cold Gin's my Gene song.
Yeah.
Even though Ace wrote it.
It's like 1A, 1B situation. It's very neck and neck. But given that if you gun to my head, I choose Calling Dr. Love.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I won't complain on that.
Yeah. I think, and I think it's got a great Ace solo in it. I just really love that song. So, are there any songs that are skippable for you on this album, or is this a straight 10 out of 10 banger?
I don't know. Take Me is fine.
Oh, we're gonna we're gonna end this call right now.
I mean, every album for me has that like typical Paul Stanley 4 on the floor rock and roller. And I think he's done them better on other albums, is the best way to put it for me. Other than that, though, like, I don't know. Kiss, though, for me, like, they're like Led Zeppelin. They're like your Rolling Stones. They're like those Titans for me. They're an album band. Mm-hmm. And I like this album as a full album. So it's hard to skip when you're listening to it as an album. Right. You know what I mean?
For me, it might...
And I'm sorry.
It just goes to show, because like Take Me is my favorite song on the album.
Cool.
I love that song. When they released that it was the You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, the live compilation that they released right before the reunion tour, and it supposedly had like these lost tracks from a live 1 and a live 2. And as a kid, I didn't know any better. I just was like, holy crap. They recorded a live version of Take Me for a live 2 and didn't put it on the album? What the heck? Well, you go and listen to today, it's quite clearly not recorded in 1977. Like, it's quite clearly recorded in 1996.
I was gonna say that was very much not a live on the rock and roll over tour version.
Yeah. So much, but it's a great. I love that song. For me, if I were, and it's kind of cheating because it's the last song on the album anyway. Making Love. You mentioned Zeppelin. This felt too try hard to be, Zeppelin. I mean, and we all know how much Paul loves Led Zeppelin. But this
true. I almost felt with it they were going like a bit of a different, like, the comparison that I've got is like it almost tried to be speed metal before speed metal was a thing.
A little bit.
You know what I mean? That's the best way I could put it, because like you hear Ace, and Ace is a phenomenal guitar player, but he was never known for like how fast he could play, or like the guitar wizardry, I guess is the best word that I've got. Obviously, the guy's incredible, but like he was always very well known for like the melodies of his solos and that sort of stuff. And this felt very much, at least on that end, like I'm gonna try and play this as fast as I can and hope I hit notes.
Yeah. And the other thing that throws me off about that song, as someone who likes to sit in his, or especially when before I had a kid and actually had time on my hands, I'm someone who liked to sit and play along with an album, and everything that they do up to like the 80s is all half step down, except for that song. Like Making Love, for whatever reason, is in standard.
Great.
Makes no sense.
So all you need to do is spend like another $1,000 on a different guitar and just tune it a half step up.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's ways around it, but it's very. It's like you got to hit pause and either retune the
Look, I
guitar
know,
or
I
change
know capos.
guitars. Or...
I was just gonna say, and I know capos exist. I was going for the point of a joke.
Yeah, but no one capos a bass guitar. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, that's fair too.
So yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. But we're gonna real quickly. We'll just run through the rest of the tracks here. It kicks off with "I Want You." Great opening song.
Outstanding tune.
Yes.
And like, this is one that I really, really would love to see them bring, because it has been in the past a concert staple. I would love to see them bring it back.
I'm trying to think. I want to say I did see them perform this song once. It was on the Freedom to Rock tour. In 2004, the one they did with Poison.
Yeah. It's just it's only the first few seconds of it, obviously, but like, you don't get a lot of Kiss songs other than like, Rock Bottom off the top of my head, where you get such a distinct sort of vibe change in the middle of a song. You know what I mean? Usually what you're served right off the bat with a Kiss tune is what you're going to get through the rest of the song.
Right.
It's not often you get like the acoustic start and then you move to the hard rock side of things.
Yeah. It's
I
Black
really,
Diamond.
There we go. There's another good one.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get it a ton. So I like it. Yes. There's really no other way. I tried to make like a real big, long, eloquent point there. No, I like it.
Yes, they did. They did perform "I Want You" on that tour, the aforementioned tour. They also performed by "Making Love" off this album on that tour.
Heck yeah!
So
heck yeah, they did.
Couple songs off this album on that tour.
We're gonna say you're split down the middle.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the aforementioned "Take Me," which, I mean, little did I know at 3 or 4 years old, I'm wearing this cassette tape my dad made me, wearing it out. I didn't know what "Put Your Hand in My Pocket, Grab Into My Rocket" meant. I just thought it was a cool song.
Chris, don't sing this on the playground.
No idea.
No one ever does. No one ever does. It's the same way I used to run around at like 9 or 10 quoting Austin Powers movies. Like, you probably just shouldn't be.
And then, and I love, and Destroyer was I love this format where it kicks off with 2 Paul songs and then comes right back at you with 2 Gene songs. So we get, the aforementioned "Calling Dr. Love," and then followed by "Ladies' Room."
Yep.
Which is
like "Ladies' Room" for me, and again, I almost feel like you should put a precursor drink every time Spencer brings up Mr. Speed preemptively. But one other thing that I really love about Kiss is like every album almost seems to have like sister songs, I call them. Love Gun had Love Gun and I Stole Your Love, where they almost just feel like the A side and the B side to things. Ladies' Room and Mr. Speed feel like they would have been 2 sides of the same single. You know what I mean? They're very similar, but they're also different enough that you're going to enjoy them in different ways.
Yeah.
Both great rock and rollers for different reasons. So, Ladies' Room is a banger.
Yes.
I would highly suggest, friends, that when you're done this podcast, you turn it on.
Turn it on. Listen to the album version because it's good, but also listen to the version on the Live 2 because the energy in the version on the Live 2 is just, again, they're at their height. They're at the height of their powers as a band on that album.
With anything that Kiss does, I feel like there's an asterisk to it that you have to listen to the live version as well. Because, credit where credit's due. There are a lot of great live bands. No bands were as great live as Kiss is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a whole nother level. And in a way, like, again, Zeppelin's one of my favorite bands. The Chili Peppers, Guns N' Roses, you're, again, titans of the live music industry. Zeppelin's really the only one that I can even look at where it's like the live experience and the studio experience is totally different. Zeppelin, you'll get your half-hour Dazed and Confused jam. Kiss, you're just going to get like, where in the studio it's 110%. You're going to get 215% of piss and vinegar out of Paul, Ace, Gene, and Peter. Right? It's It's apples and oranges, and I like me both apples and oranges.
There you go. There you go. And then we finished out side one with Baby Driver. Interesting Peter Criss song. I'm not quite sure what I mean. It's good. It's heavy metal, but it's not like fast heavy. It's just really just lots of distorted guitars layered on top of each other. And a bass line that doesn't really sound like it should fit, but somehow it fits perfectly. Yeah.
The best comparison I have on this one is Strange Ways. Yeah. And that's even like a very adjacent comparison, right? Because like Peter, even you go to his solo album, he's a very jazz, Gene Krupa, like laid back swinger sort of dude. Mm-hmm. It's really rare that he sort of takes the heavy side. But this and Strange Ways both prove that he was very good at it. Like literally the note that I've got here, dude, and it's a one-liner. Peter Criss, underrated vocalist.
Yes.
And just like, is because you know, the drumming side, I agree. Certainly important to what KISS did. Eric Carr is the best drummer KISS ever had by a mile.
Of course.
And I mean that in the nicest way. But Peter Criss was so fundamental to what KISS was doing vocally and drum-wise that, like, you know, if Eric Carr started with KISS in 73, KISS wouldn't be where they are.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. He might be the best they had, but he wasn't the most essential they had.
See, I think technically, singer's the best they've had. Eric, especially live, if he had a better meter on him, everything, dude, those 80s concerts are like, I love them. I love watching them. Yeah. But you want to talk about going 100 miles an hour? They're going 150 miles an hour. Like,
yeah, you ain't wrong there. I don't know. That guy, like, Zeppelin's my favorite band of all time.
Oh, he's very
Bonham.
Oh yeah.
And that's the best compliment I think anyone can give anybody who's ever picked up a set of sticks is you're very much like John Bonham.
Yeah. Yes. I love too at the end of the song when like Peter goes Dave Grohl before Dave Grohl existed, and he just starts screaming at the top of his lungs. It always cracks me up. I don't know why it's so funny to me, but he's like, you're going 100 miles an hour. Wow. Like, I can't.
You put it perfectly.
I can't do it the way he does it because I will torch my voice. But
see, the best part is like Dave Grohl is from the Paul Stanley school of stage banter. So it's Peter Criss, influenced by Dave Grohl before Dave Grohl was Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
Influenced by Paul Stanley, who was in Peter Criss's band.
It's just we got ourselves an Inception situation going on here. So we kick off side B with Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. This might be the other one that's a candidate for being a skip, depending on the day.
Once it was brought up, you know, I've got all the time in the world for like just straight up sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Even this was like almost too on the nose. You know,
and especially coming on the same album as Lady, like it's almost the same song as Ladies Room. Like they're kind of interchangeable, and I think Ladies Room is the better song. But
I was just gonna say, when you've got two of the same flavors, you got to pick which one's better. Yeah. And you're right, Ladies Room is it's just a better song.
Okay, go ahead. Talk. Here's your chance to shine. Talk about Mr. Speed all you want.
See, and here's the thing too is, it's like a great wrestling match. Is you can say a million different things about it. You can sit and talk about this spot, the entrance, and this and that. Sometimes you just have to sit and say, listen to this song because it's damn good. It's a damn great example of rock and roll. And like, this just is.
Yes.
This just is. It's a very prototypical rock and roll song. Like, you listen to the first 10, 15 seconds of it, and half the time you'll think to yourself, is this Mr. Speed or Bang a Gong? But like, I don't know. It's just got such a cool vibe about it. I think it's got such a great vocal from Paul Stanley. It's really rare, like, outside of the live setting, you see him fluctuate in the way he's vocalizing as much as you hear here. And I love the fact that he's really got like the laid back, cool 60s driving like a Stingray vibe to most of his vocal. And then you hear him at the end when he's, call me Mr. Speed.
Yeah.
Like you hear him hit the high Paul Stanley notes. And I don't know. It's just a very, very cool. It's prototypical Kiss. It's prototypical rock and roll.
Yes.
And, you know, sometimes things are a standard bearer for good reasons because they're damn great and they deserve to be.
Yeah.
And I think for me, this is a perfect example of that.
Yes. No, I agree. Like I said that facetiously, making it sound like I wasn't a fan of the song. No, I absolutely agree that this is a great song, and I think it does, with many songs, deserves more play in the Kiss pantheon. Even the little things, and I can't even sitting here, I can't even place what it's reminiscent of, but you know, where he's, you know, well, you know, don't you know you can cry, I, like that thing at the end of the verses is
it's so 50s.
Yeah, very.
So 50s.
Very.
And when you talk about this being like a throwback album or a throwback Kiss album or a return to the roots, or again, whatever sort of verbiage you want to put on it, this for me exemplifies that better than any song on the album.
And then we get to see you in your dreams again. I got about half this song on my little homemade cassette tape, and then I was like, literally right in the middle of the guitar solo. This is an interesting one because this is the first time Gene records this song. He records it again for his '78 solo album. It's a little different, featuring background vocals from one Katie Segal, of all people. But
Gene recording his solo album might be the most interesting part of his first book, to be honest with you, because like reading his mindset into just like music. No, I was just gonna hire a bunch of celebrities.
Yeah. He actively was trying to reunite the Beatles on his album. Like, what?
Oh yeah, like come on, Gene. Let's get real here for a second. Interesting. I think is the best way that you could have put this, Chris. Like, it's
interesting because like neither time when you hear him talk, like it doesn't sound like either time he got what he wanted out of it. Like even when he had the which is weird. I prefer this version. I think the solo album version is good, but and had that been the first time I heard that song, you know, or you know that was the only version of that song, I probably would like that just fine. But I think this version's.
It's like if you were to hear
Great.
When You Wish Upon a Star first on Gene Simmons' solo album rather than in the movie Pinocchio.
I'm not gonna bust his balls too bad on that one because
I'm not gonna bust his balls for a childhood dream.
Exactly.
I am not going to bust his balls for the reason he recorded it.
Exactly.
At the same time, my mom's favorite song is Rose Garden by Loretta Lynn. And if I recorded a version of Rose Garden and put it out to the public, it is fully open to critique. Yeah. And Gene, I love you. But When You Wish Upon a Star by Gene Simmons is very, very low on my list of priorities to listen to.
Yeah. There you go.
Lots of love to it. Honestly, interesting is the best way I can put this song because it's got like not only the backstory to it, but it just feels... I don't know. The best way I can put it is like sometimes you see bands put out albums of like, hey, this is the B-sides album. This is the unreleased songs album. This is the whatever. Like, this is Carnival of Souls. Mm-hmm. This feels like one of those songs where they're like, oh, this was a layover from Hotter Than Hell. Let's throw it on there because we want to get rid of it or whatever. It's by no means a bad song, but it certainly doesn't feel like it fits in with this album at points.
Right. Because it's a lot more. Again, it's not Calling Dr. Love. It's not Ladies' Room, and it's not Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. It's not in those veins. It's a little.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a more softer side of Gene, but it's not. It's not the let's get straight down to business Gene, that we're used.
It's again sort of like you brought up earlier, like to have the cake and eat it too. Whereas like the next song we're going to talk about is Hard Luck Woman, which is a very clear transition from the hard rock side of things that this is going for. This is again like trying to find the middle ground of like, let's be soft but still rock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hard Luck Woman. I actually, because I didn't get the last couple songs on this album, my relationship to this song is the Garth Brooks cover on the Kiss My Ass album. And
which isn't bad.
No, I love. Well, dude, if Kiss was my favorite thing as a kid, Garth Brooks was my second favorite. Like, I loved Garth Brooks. I still do.
So you're set as far as this goes.
Oh yeah. And so for me, the coolest thing ever was when he was on, I think it was Jay Leno. I want to say it was Jay Leno, and he performed Hard Luck Woman with Kiss as his backing band. Like,
yeah.
Like, what? So yeah, that's my relationship to the song. And it's weird too, if you watch the full Kiss Unplugged, not just, the version that was, recorded for MTV or put out as an album, but if you watch the full version that's on Kissology, like, Paul does this song, and it's like, well, if you're gonna have Gene or Ace and Peter come out, like, why wouldn't you wait till then? But I don't know.
Yeah, no, and if I remember, I don't remember what DVD set it was on either, but it was one of the DVD sets that was like the full retrospective that they did right around the time of the reunion tour. And this was the first song that Peter played when he came back up at one of the Kiss conventions too, because they've got one of the little clips in there. And like, same thing is just sort of like the little mind worms that you get is like, that always sticks with you, which impacts your love of the song. Like, I just think it's fantastic.
It's a good song.
There really isn't another way to put it. I think that it's the perfect mix. Again, it's ironic given how much we talk about like that, have your cake and eat it too. But I think this is a really great mix of showing the softer side of Kiss while still being like a good rock song in a way that Beth was still a great song, but more of a ballad, just non-rock song.
And it's funny, when I think of this song, I can't remember if it was Don Kirshner's rock concert or Midnight Special, one of those things that they were on during, after this album came out, and they had two performances. They were essentially music videos. One of them was Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, and the other one was Hard Luck Woman. And what sticks out for whatever reason in my mind so much about the performance of Hard Luck Woman is I believe I can't remember who's wearing the guitar, but either Ace or Peter is wearing a double neck guitar and is playing the top half, and the other one is standing behind them, reaching around them and playing the bottom half of the double neck guitar, which isn't how that works, but again, it is basically a lip sync.
I think they call that creative license.
Exactly. It's cool. When I was a kid, I thought that's how it worked, but oh well. And then we finished out the album with Making Love.
Boy, this song existed.
Yeah, it's
next.
It's fine. It's just, I don't know. It's just the chorus. The chorus is what the problem is for me, because there's no chorus to it. It's just Paul screaming "Making Love" over and over and over and over again.
It ain't exactly Shakespeare.
Exactly. But as far as an album closer, it's got the nice fade out on it. It works. But
that's all I can say on that end.
Yeah. So, anything else, Spencer?
No.
Where does this rank for you?
It's easily top 10.
Okay.
I have a real convincing argument to put her in my top 5, but like it's the same way you described it earlier. this would be in my top 5 early in the week. Midweek, it would be top 3. And then end of the week, it might be top 10 or any combination of those, you know? Like, that's one of the things that I've loved most about KISS is that you get so many different eras out of them. Whether it's this, like you can go through and do it you can do an entirely different ranked top 5 for masked versus unmasked. You can do all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Depending on when, I'm confident this is top 10. I'm fairly certain I could argue this for my top 5, but off the top of my head, I'd put it at 7.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, this is
7 or 8.
My top 5 never changes. It's just the order changes. So.
And that's exactly it. And then, like, for me, you start to expand it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Crazy Nights was too good. It has to be on there. Has to be on there. Oh, Creatures of the Night. Oh, it has to be on there, right? Like, you start just, like, building up reasons for everything to be the number 1.
Yeah, there you go. Both of those albums have anniversaries next year, so I'm sure. I'm
always down to talk history.
Yeah.
Talk history. No. Talk history.
Yeah, there you go. Spencer, where can people find you, man?
Dude, hopefully back on here again sooner rather than later. It's an absolute blast, man. And thank you for having me again. If people want to follow me, I'm pretty easy personally. I'm at Spenny Love on Twitter. If you want to follow anything we're doing in wrestling content, it ain't just me at Love Wrestling. It's a bunch of different individuals, a lot of different opinions, and all over the world. So, give us a follow at Love Wrestling CA, wherever videos are played or audio is listened to. And if you want to find it all in one fell swoop, it is lovewrestling.ca on the old interweb machine.
Spencer's a very good interviewer.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
You're
really
very,
do. Thank you.
You just have you're very effervescent.
Thank you, man. You know what? I've never had formal training or anything like that, which is why I always get a little both overly surprised and a little self-conscious when people say stuff like that. But like, you know, I like talking to good people, which, to be honest with you, Chris, and here's my cheap plug for you, man. That's why I always love being on here. It's always a blast chatting with you. And you always have me on for albums I love. So, you get a little selfish, extra love for you.
There's a strategy to these things.
You aren't booking me on for U2 albums for a reason. Hey?
Oh, so I shouldn't pencil you in for the Joshua Tree episode next year?
No, I can't even make a sarcastic joke. I'm out, conclusively out. I'll find something to do so I can cancel on that one. Dude, I appreciate it.
Awesome.
You do great work. You're a great human being, and I love chatting with you. So
awesome.
Thank you for,
right back at you, man.
Having me on again, man.
All right. Well, for Spencer Love, I am Chris Bourdine. You can follow me at Ibanez Facebook.com/music and moonsaults. If you want audio, just go to anchor.fm/Christopher-Bourdine5. I know that's a mouthful, but it's the best I can do. And that'll, or search me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. I'm there. Just leave a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe, please. I really want to get up to 100 subscribers so I can actually tell you go to youtube.com/music and moonsault instead of here's a bunch of random letters and numbers. So yeah, that'd be helpful. Until next time, guys, see ya.